And we are live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Business Lecture Series provided by the Central Asian Productivity Research Center and the Business and Professional Institute. My name is Chris Wager, and I'd like to introduce the lecturer for today's presentation. Professor John Kalaras. John has been a professor for more than 40 years. He has authored 11 university-level books. In 1999, John was recognized by UNESCO as the Professor of the Year. From 2005 to 2009, former President George W. Bush appointed John to his Business Advisory Council. John's role was for the education and training in the United States. If John's advice and counsel were sought by the UN and President Bush, we surely cannot go wrong with paying attention to his words today. I give you Mr. John Kalaras.
Thank you, Christopher. Let me know when can I proceed.
You are on.
Okay. Let me share screen so we can proceed, and I'll say my thanks in a second.
There, let me. There you go.
Okay. Christopher, thank you for the kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you, thank you for attending this interesting presentation today. The topic, as you already know, is quality management, and I'll be with you for about an hour or so. Feel free to raise your hand for questions if you have any, or go to the chat, and I'll be delighted to address your concerns. Thanks to all people who are attending from several parts of the world. Actually, I just got a notice from South Africa. Yolanda Peterson is attending there. Katia Margariti is attending from Greece. Some people from Central and East Asia and Central Africa also, and Chiki is attending there. For the rest of us who are here in the States, I'm not going to go on because we have way too many people attending, and thank you all. Well, let's see now. Obviously, with everything we do, we should have a goal, and my goal for all of you today is to learn the basics of achieving and maintaining a quality business environment with excellence embedded all the way throughout the business. Now, let me also file a disclaimer. Please realize that this topic is not intended for the MBAs and PhDs and other professionals and business people that I have in the audience. Excuse me. The presentation is intended for first-year students at the University of Azerbaijan. As a matter of fact, the topics that we'll address today are the ones that they asked me to address. Quality entails a lot more than what we'll cover today, but again, the 7 topics that I will address, I think, will be of significance to you. The interesting thing that I can assure you of is that the way I present, and I have somewhat modified these topics, will be a kind of unique, at least for some of you. Having said that, let me just remind you, as I said the last time, what Socrates said. He said, 2,400 years ago, I cannot teach you anything. I can only offer you options, make you think, ask questions, and what you do with it, it's totally up to you. And basically, I love that approach because throughout my consulting, business, and academic career, I found this technique to work well. Instead of shoving down their throat what you want them to know, I provide them with options, and I ask them to choose. And most of them choose the right solution, the right approach. The agenda for today, as I mentioned, will entail 7 main topics. Quality management, Lean Six Sigma, systems mentality. That is something, by the way, that I've put a lot of thought in it, and I want you to pay attention when we cover the systems mentality concept. Waste and defects, common things, okay? The 5S approach, the visual workplace. And the last one, equity and equality in business, is also a topic that I put my spin on it as well. So, speaking of the 7 topics, again, I'm trying to show them as vitally important to quality, and I have them as pillars to quality. Here they are, all 7 of them on the screen. Give me a thumbs up if good, if you can see this. Is that okay? Good, good. I see quite a few of you. Good. Okay. Well, obviously, by implementing, maintaining, and sustaining quality in business, you have certain benefits. I've classified them in 4 categories. There are benefits to organizations, benefits to customers, benefits to employees, and benefits to society. We don't have the time today to go over all these benefits, but obviously, to the organizations, let me just briefly say that if an organization produces services or products of quality, obviously it's going to sustain and succeed. The customers, they get quality products, so they know where to go to every time they need a quality product. The employees, if the company does well, the employees enjoy employability, security, job security, and so on. And benefits to society, when a company has quality products and services and thrives in business, you don't go down the street to see closed, we moved, closed for business, we lost our business, nothing like that. There is prosperity all over, and of course, taxes are paid and everything else. I briefly want to address those 4 issues, but that alone is a whole presentation by itself. Okay, now, obviously, you can go to any and all management books. You can Google the definition of quality, and you're going to see those lengthy 4 or 5 line definitions. As I said earlier, and the last time for the ones who were here, I do have certain unique things that I present myself, or I've developed myself, and the definition of quality is one of them. Basically, I define quality as you know that you have quality when the customer returns and the product doesn't. I think it's a very profound statement, and I'll repeat that. You know you have quality when the customer returns and the product doesn't. I think that resonates with all of you as it has in the past. Okay, now let's address the first topic, total quality management. What is it? Everybody talks about it, TQM. It's nothing but an organizational approach to long-term sustainable success proven by customer satisfaction and loyalty. See, again, customer satisfaction and loyalty are the topics that I go for and try to emphasize with my colleagues, with my students, and everybody else. As a matter of fact, you're going to see a pictorial that I have on the next slide, because excuse me. See, folks, customer satisfaction and customer loyalty to me is 2 different things. A satisfied customer, which is what many companies go for, is still looking for a better price, a better service, better conditions, better, whatever the things. A satisfied customer is still looking. A loyal client will never leave you. A loyal client will always be with you, and that is why I emphasize the importance of loyalty. Now, total quality management encompasses the entire organization, from the CEO all the way to the doorman, the frontline people, the cleaning people, the front desk, and everybody else. Everybody, and that's why the word total is there. It emphasizes the commitment by management to have a continuing company-wide drive for excellence. And of course, in all aspects of products or services that the company provides, okay? Again, I close that statement there with the importance to customer. Customer, customer, customer is what I want you folks to have your mind on whenever you train your people, whenever you perform in a business, whenever you're doing everything and anything in business. Actually, I have a pictorial here that I think that will resonate with all of you. Here I am in a meeting with some colleagues of mine, and towards the other end of the table, I hope you see an empty chair. I just pointed at it. Well, guess what? In every meeting that I hold, I always have an empty chair, and I tell everybody that is the customer. It's a concept that if you apply it, just about everybody will keep in mind the customer, who is the ultimate judge to your product, service, or to whatever you do, to the level of quality that you want. I hope you like this pictorial. Okay, the customer should always be on site with whatever we do. Speaking of the significance of the customer, that's another thing that I usually have a sign in my office, and especially whenever we hold a meeting, the next inspector is a customer. Okay, so speaking of continuous improvement, again, it's something that we should be constantly aiming towards achieving it, and towards not only achieving it, but also sustaining it, maintaining it throughout the life of a business. To implement continuous improvement, you need to use skills like the ones that we'll discuss today. So, speaking of quality, we started with the main theme, total quality management, and now the specific 6 tools that I will address next, comprising all 7 elements of a presentation that the university asked me to address. So let's move on to Lean Six Sigma now. Obviously, in there we'll examine techniques like Kaizen, Kanban, JIT, signaling, the next move, pull-push systems. And of course, Oscar's people can enjoy or know exactly what I mean, because I know that Oscar and Stephen has trained them on these topics, the Kano model, the Pokayoki techniques, the mistake proofing, and you're going to see some of them today here, okay? Here, for instance, the Japanese term of Kaizen, change good, okay? Change is good. Kanban systems, the card, okay? And the Pokayoki, which is a mistake-free approach that we are preaching. Like you see the USB right here. You can only insert it in your computer in a certain way. It doesn't go the other way, and that is to prevent mistakes. Okay, look at the plug here on the left-hand side. The top will now work, the one below will. Okay, so that's to avoid mistakes, and that is under the technique of what the Japanese call Pokayoke. It is funny, by the way, that we are talking about the Japanese talking and implementing continuous improvement and quality, and they were taught by an American person, Dr. Edward Deming, and we'll talk about that, and Henry Ford, and we'll talk about that a little later. Okay, so total quality management and continuous improvement. The first item that I emphasize, folks, is process optimization, not maximization. We have economists from all over the world saying, achieve the maximum by putting in the minimum. Really? How can you do that? I don't know. Putting in the minimum and maximize the output? It's a kind of strange to me. However, what I believe and what I go for is process optimization. And for that, you're going to see an example that I have for you. Let's say, and I start the first example with my students from Azerbaijan. Let's say that you want to go from Zaqatala to Baku, driving from that city to the capital of the country. Or now the distance is approximately 640 miles. Okay. As a matter of fact, I have the pictorial, Zaqatala to Baku, but also since we have people from South Africa, let's say that you want to travel same distance from Pretoria to Richard Bay. You want to go by the sea. Or for our American friends, let's say that you want to go from Ohio to New York. And from my friends and associates from Greece, let's say that you want to go from Athens to Thessaloniki. So now you have an idea of what distance we want to travel. You get in your car, I'll take the state troopers away, and the car shows 220 miles or kilometers, the odometer shows that. And now you get in the car and you push it all the way to 220 to go that distance. Are you going to make it to your destination? I don't think so. 20, 30, 40 kilometers or miles down the line, you're going to see pistons flying left and right because now you put it to the maximum, which the car cannot sustain for a long time. You may sustain it for 5, 10, 20 miles, but thereafter, it's going to break down. The same holds true, folks, with our people. We ask our people to produce the maximum by giving them or allowing them the minimum. Not a very good approach. And I think that this pictorial and example here will solidify what I'm trying to convey to you. Excuse me. Moving right along now, let's move on to the second topic, Lean Six Sigma. Now, every business wants to produce a good quality product or service. And that's reasonable and that's good. Okay. Actually, they want to do that constantly. In other words, you don't want to have any defects or any waste in the process. In addition, you want to be consistent. Now, why do you want to be consistent? Because if the customer comes in and let's say is asking for an ice cream, a banana split ice cream, and the first time he or she is served with something like what you see on the screen right now. Oh, it was nice. Let's go back in next day. But next day you get something like that. Different. Not as the last time. Let's go back. And the third time you get something like this, you're going to be very happy because you expected what you saw the first time. And I'm not saying that it is inferior quality, the other two, but it's not what you were accustomed to. Same with, let's say you want a hamburger. Okay, you order one and you receive something like that. Next time you receive something like this. Next time you receive something like that. I don't know about you, but I think that producing consistency in the product or service that you offer is critical in any and all business. Again, the pictorials, I think, will solidify what I'm trying to say. So basically, you want to have this or that. So now you know, every time you go there, you receive the same product. Okay, so let's explain now Lean Six Sigma. Lean reduces waste and defects. Okay, it's that simple. If you want to take notes, that's what Lean does. Okay, Six Sigma reduces variability. So by applying Lean Six Sigma, you avoid defects and waste, and you achieve consistency. You reduce variability. And again, folks, to most of you here in the States, the Stephen Unicas, the Oscar Estradas, and everybody else, this may be a little too introductory to you, but again, the presentation is intended towards the first year students at University of Azerbaijan. Okay, so here again, Lean reduces waste, Six Sigma reduces variation. And I'm doing this up there because the last time I gave this similar presentation on another topic, of course, people told me, keep the screens up there because we're taking pictures of it. So there you go, there you have it. So Six Sigma is a model of continuous improvement and focuses on eliminating variability. You want to have consistency, as we said. I'm just finalizing or concluding the topics here. And of course, you want standardization, and that's how you achieve excellence. Obviously, Lean Six Sigma applies to just about everything and anything in business. There is all the aspects of or functions of a business, and they can all use the Lean Six Sigma concepts. In conclusion, it's a philosophy, it's a methodology. It's not just something that you do today and you forget about it tomorrow. It has to be embedded in the hearts and souls of the employees and everybody in the business. And when I'm saying employees, I mean from the CEO to the frontline people. It's a never-ending journey. It's a marathon with an unknown finish line. As a matter of fact, several organizations, and of course your university, dear students, will probably have this. They have all the different types of certificates that they issue on Lean Six Sigma. By the way, the highest of all is the Master Black Belt certificate. And I know of several people, even in the audience today, like Oscar and a few others, have the Master Black Belt certificate. All right, let's try to move on now to the next topic, system. And that is where I put my own spin, folks, and I would appreciate if you pay a little extra attention here. Okay, now, what is a system to you? I like acronyms, and people remember the meaning of something via an acronym a lot better. And if you take the initials of the word system, SYSTEM, I say with a system, you save yourself significant time, effort, and money. See the word system vertically? Okay. So if you have a system, you save yourself significant time, effort, and money. That's something that I developed. I haven't stolen from anybody. So feel free to use. Now, you all know, and we addressed this the last time, by the way, that with everything we do, we have input, process, and output. Today, the input is what I do, the process is the learning, and the output will be more educated students. And of course, we provide feedback so we can improve the process next time. That is a system, a component of a business. Obviously, as we already know, a business has several components, and here they are. We have the customer service, we have sales, schedules, billing, all of them, they're up there. So all of them are the subsystems of a business, which is the main system. So what is the innovative approach that I've developed about systems thinking? A system, folks, and I'll leave that there for you, or I can send you information if you want me to. A system is a sum of interdependent parts or processes. I've capitalized the word interdependent, where each has an effect on the properties, behavior, and performance of other processes. To me, that's a very profound, very significant statement, and I'll take a little time to analyze it, because in business, I bet you have seen it yourselves. I've seen this being cremated. I mean, they don't use it properly, to put it in plain words, for lack of better words, okay, in business. For instance, what do we see? Oh, my sales are down. Let's bring somebody in to motivate our salespeople so they can go out there and sell. What else? Oh, production is down. Okay, let's bring some more automated machines and produce more. I'm going to stay on that for a moment. Let's say that your company has production problems. They don't produce enough. So now what do? They send its people to some type of training to learn how to produce better. They buy better machines. They automate processes. So now they produce plenty. However, and sticking to that definition, the interdependent parts where each has an effect on the properties of others. Now, let's say that the production department is producing plenty, producing enough. However, if you don't coordinate with the storage department, if you don't coordinate with the sales department, if you don't coordinate with the shipping department, you're going to have production being produced out there and staying on the sidewalk, excuse me, because the production department, the storage department does not have any room to store it. The sales department cannot sell all those units that you produced. So I hope you understand now, or you see the importance of interdependent parts or processes that have an effect on others. In other words, when you want to improve the production department, see how much the storage can take, see how much your salespeople can do, see how much your shipping department can ship. So enhancing a department without looking into the effect onto others, you may have a problem. As a matter of fact, when I do this for my clients, I have certain games that I play with them, and then they really realize the significance of it. So interdependence is the key here, and I want you to remember. Okay. Now, following up, or going on with systems thinking, improvement of a system should address the entirety, not just a part, as I said before. When a system is taken apart, it loses its essential qualities or properties. Now, let me take another example for you. Excuse me. A car is a system which consists of the engine, the chassis, the wheels, the body, the steering wheel, and a few other things. Now, let's say that you want to improve the engine, enhance the engine, and put a much bigger engine on it. You go on and you install a bigger engine. Are you sure that the wheels can take it? Are you sure that it will work with the air conditioning and heating system of the department? But I enhanced it. I put a better engine on it, so it should go faster. No. No part of a car can achieve its essential goal, which is to take you from space A to space B. And if you enhance one part only, that may have a problem with the rest of the parts. So enhancing a component, you should look into the influence that it has onto the rest of the components. And the example that I gave you with production in a business, I think that validated the point. Closing the systems thinking, the parts of a system cannot be separated or isolated and be expected to function in the same way and as efficiently as they did before. Okay, it's an unavoidable rule. Keep that in mind. Actually, in some cases, you may not function at all. Okay, so improving a part or a department without considering the effect onto other departments or parts may be counterproductive. And the example that I gave you with the production department, I think that signifies the importance of it. Finally, the effectiveness of a system depends on how well the parts work together. You produce, and you are a good production department if the sales department can sell all the units you produce. You produce, and the units are maintained in good condition if the storage department can store them properly, well organized, know where they are at any given time, and provide them to the shipping department according to what the salespeople did. Okay. The degree of harmonious and independent interaction is important. Last time, for the ones who were here, let me remind you that we talked about harmony versus balance. You don't only want to have a balance between two departments, you want to have harmony throughout the entire organization. And that is why I insist that a system is a company-wide approach to improving everything and anything you want. You don't improve the part or expect it to be more efficient. You got to improve the whole system. Now, along with systems thinking comes the performance evaluations that we do for people or for departments. When we evaluate, when we look into the KPIs of a department, for instance, departments are evaluated based on their individual performance in most cases, and that is micromanagement. I don't go for that. Yeah, you need to know what each and every department is doing, and I'm not saying that you should ignore the performance of individual departments totally, but that should not be your goal. Your goal should be that departments should also be evaluated in terms of their contribution to the system, and that is performance development. For you, if you're taking notes, let me just go back for a moment. Micromanagement, performance development. Okay, by enhancing, approaching, looking at the whole system, you have total performance development, which, by the way, coincides with what we talked about earlier today about continuous improvement and total improvement. And that brings harmony and excellence. All right, now we can move to item 4, which means we have 3 more to cover: waste and defects. This is nothing new. You can open up any book and see it. I know Oscar, Stephen, and a few others, and Richard already trained your people on that. So waste is also called muda, according to the Japanese. And again, this acronym, by the way, I did not develop. I shamelessly stole it, as my friend Richard Heller says. So to remember the 8 common wastes, they apply the acronym trim wood. See, just like this person is trimming wood. So trim wood, you already know this, okay, refers to transportation, resource ineffective utilization. These are all wastes, okay? Inventory. Inventory is a liability. Now, Richard, who is a top professor, Richard Mambra, that is, who's a top professor of accounting, will say, but John, you and I both thought that inventory is an asset. How do you call it a liability? Yeah, it is an asset from the, excuse me, from the accountant's point of view. But from the business point of view, it's a liability. Why? Because when you have inventory in your stockroom, you have the cost of acquiring the raw materials, the labor that you put in it, the overhead and insurances and everything else, okay, factory overhead, operational overhead, working process and everything else that you have, which is quote unquote a liability until you sell it and make some money. So yes, from the accountant's point of view, inventory is an asset. From the business's point of view, efficiency point of view, is a liability, because your intent is not to have inventory there. Your intent is to sell it. And of course, motion, moving from one part to the other, moving left and right, definitely creates waste. Here, by the way, let me just share something that some of the people, former students of mine, probably know. Years back, I used to have a dry cleaners, and it was doing so well, my competition decided to burn it down one night. And as they say, there's always a good side to every adversity. The first time that they installed the equipment to do all the dry cleaning, shirt cleaning, drapes cleaning, and everything else, they had different equipment, but they put them far apart. So my employees were moving from one place to another, making 4 or 5 steps to take a garment from this machine to that machine, and then another 3 or 4 steps to another machine. Excuse me. The good thing that came out of that fire was when I had to rebuild the dry cleaners, I put those machines a lot closer. So now the employee didn't even have to make a move. From here, he was just turning his body, his or her body there, and then from there to there. No movement, no motion, a lot more efficient, a lot more higher production. By the way, some of you now probably think, because some former students of mine, because they had to do some senior projects on the dry cleaners that I had at the time. In any event, waiting for products, waiting for the working process from the previous cell to send the products to you. Again, that's another waste. If you overproduced, obviously, I'm not going to explain all these things. It's self-explanatory. Okay. And of course, having defects or rejects because you have to rework them, you have to reshape them, you have to inspect them, and all of that cause additional costs. So in business, dear students at the Azerbaijan University, we try to avoid these 8 things which cause additional costs and expenses. All right, let's move on to item 5, the 5S technique. Okay. Here I have a schematic where the 5 S's basically refer to sorting, setting in order, shining, standardizing, and sustaining quality, sustaining whatever you do in business. Again, common sense, nothing new about sorting, straightening, shining, standardizing, and sustaining. Okay, you have seen this. You can see this in any and all quality books. I'm not saying anything new, but there is something, a spin that I'm going to put out on this that some of you may not know. So bear with me for a moment. The 5S is a fundamental first step towards for a world-class company. Okay, that's the basic statement that I preach all the time. The 5 Japanese S's that we mentioned before in Japanese is seiri, seiton, seiso, seikatsu, and seichuke. Okay, and I have in light blue the American translation next to it. Now, what was the first one? Sort, right? And then set in order. And then shine. So sort and set in order. Here, look how the books are in this bookcase. Obviously, we put them in order, and that will make your job, if you're looking for a book, a lot more efficient. Obviously, shining. Look at the left, before and after. Look at this car, before and after. Okay, you got to shine them so you can maintain them in good quality. Again, common sense. We already talked about variability or irregularity earlier, right? I hope you remember that. You want to avoid that. You want standardization. You want this, as we said earlier. Now, the funny thing about the 5S, folks, is that Henry Ford had already developed way before the Japanese developed the 5S system through its can do. C for cleanup, A, arrange, N for neatness, D for discipline, and O for ongoing improvement. Aren't they basically the same? Speaking of Henry Ford, by the way, here's a little story that I'd like to share with you that some of you may not know. We all know what happened to the American automobile industry in the 70s and 80s with the Japanese Toyotas and other cars flooding the American market. So Detroit, Ford, GM, Chrysler, and all those big automakers were losing a lot of money, a lot of business. So at some point, they talked to their counterparts in Japan, and they said, "Would like to come over and visit and see what you guys do." The Japanese said, "Sure, no problem." Long story short, the American delegation goes to Japan. They looked around, they saw the Toyota systems and everything else. And then they said, "How do you know all these things?" And the Japanese said, "We follow the Bible." The Americans shook their head and they said, "What?" "Yeah, we follow the Bible." And the Americans said, "What does the Bible have to do with production and manufacturing?" Well, we follow the Bible." The Americans were lost. "Well, can we see the Bible that you guys follow?" Guess what they showed them? Henry Ford's operationals book, operationals management book. And that is what they were following, which we here in the States had forgotten about it, moved on to other things that certain managers wanted to achieve, and forgot about Henry Ford's operations manual, which is what the Japanese basically followed. Obviously, they didn't only base their performance on Henry Ford. Another person who also had a significant influence on the Japanese system was Edward Deming, and I'm not going to address him now, unless we have some time at the end. But for the time being, let's try to go on and finish these topics here, especially for my students. But it's important for you folks for the ones who don't know who Dr. Edward Deming was and what he did for Japan. Actually, what he tried to do here for the States first, but we know it all. We didn't listen to him. Anyway, so item 6, visual workplace. You've heard the expression out of sight, out of mind, okay? Basically, what we're saying is you should develop a visual workplace because, as I said, out of sight, out of mind. You don't see it, you don't realize, okay? The purpose of the workplace environment, folks, is to make problems visible. To simplify employees' work and to identify improvement, and basically that's what a Kanban system or signals does, okay? Here's a Kanban, they call this the Anton lights. As you can tell, there's green, yellow, and red. A cashier, for instance, or a person who works in a production environment at his or her cell, if everything is fine, the green is lit. If he or she is anticipating problems, then the yellow is lit. And finally, if there are major problems, then the red is lit. So now the manager knows right away what the issue is and attends to it, okay? Here's the lights, the Anton lights lit. Now, we use this system in our everyday life. A mailman who comes to your home, if you see the flag, do you see the red little flag here? If you see the flag is on, he or she now realizes that there is mail inside the box for him or her to take. If the flag is down, as in this case, there's no mail for the mailman to pick up. So we use these systems. It's nothing new, but it's an effective way of operating your business. Okay, I'm checking time and it's 8:45, we're doing well. Okay, speaking of a visual workplace, we do this with the tools that we use in business. And basically, we draw a pictorial around the tool. So when a tool is missing, look, concentrate on the hammer here, on this one for a moment, okay? Look at the next pictorial. Now the picture is behind it, so it's missing. And basically what I do, which not very many people do, but my clients enjoy this, I have a record here on the counter at the bottom of this board where it says who has the hammer, how long he or she is going to be using it, and when it's going to be returned. This way, the next person who needs that tool knows when the product or the part will be back. It's a good way, again, a visual way to see if the part is there, and if not, when it's coming back. So visual workplace is an important element. And now we're getting down to the last element, equality and equity. Here I put a little spin of my own on this topic. Everybody, especially here in the States nowadays, talks about EDI. They talk about all the different types of equality, but not very many people talk about equity. And there's a difference between equality and equity. So as last item, in closing, let's pay a little extra attention. I hope I haven't bored you throughout the day today. We're done in a few minutes, but this is important. Equality versus equity in the workplace. Okay, now, equality in the workplace means treating everybody the same. I treat all of you folks the same way. I give you the same pay raise, the same treatment, the same behavior, the same treatment in general. So I have equality. I treat everybody the same. Where equity in the workplace means doing what is right to bring everybody at the same level. Not everybody, folks, was born on an equal base or is at an equal base in a work environment. Some people have an advantage, some have a disadvantage. So what do? If you treat them the same, the people with a disadvantage will probably fall behind. And actually, the next pictorial shows that. Here is a manager, and I don't know if you can see what he says. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb the tree. And what do we have now? We have a rhinoceros or a pig, an elephant, a monkey, a lion, a snake, porcupine, crocodile. Not every animal can climb the tree on an equal basis, folks. The monkey will probably have a big advantage when some other animals will have a major disadvantage. So treating them the same, is it really fair? Is that what we should be doing? Okay. And here is now what I'm trying to explain to you. Let's take another example. A mom with 2 kids want to attend a football game, a soccer game as they have it in Azerbaijan. Okay, we have a little kid here, another child that's a little taller, bigger, and mom. And they want to watch this game, which is played at the other side of the field, but there is a wall behind them. You see the wall between them? Okay, so they can see it. So now they figured, well, mom with the 2 kids, and there's the wall or the fence behind it, in essence. They're saying, we're going to take a box, and I'm going to give everybody a box so they can see the game. Mom is on a box, the taller child is on a box, and the smaller child is on the same box. We treated everybody the same, right? Equal treatment. Did mom really need the box? I don't think so. This child, the first taller child, needed it. However, the third child, the second child, the third person, by giving him 1 box, it's not going to do it. It's not going to do any good. So basically, that is what we should be doing. Mom does not need it. The first child does, and the third needs it the most. And that's equity. The first here is equality. So I conclude on the next slide that the lesson is, when things are equal, it's fine to apply equality. But when things are unequal, please apply equity. Do the right thing for all people. Okay, here's another pictorial of it. With this, we finished the topics, the 7 topics that I was supposed to cover for the students. However, for them and mainly for the rest of you folks, I have some additional topics that I'd like to share with you, because I promised you even the first time and earlier today that you will see some unique methodologies, unique statements, unique thoughts, just like the systems approach that I've developed. Okay, and here I have it. Last time I was in the Greek islands, I was vacationing in this place, and everybody was talking about, it was a nice, beautiful, beautiful place, okay? And everybody was talking about a much better place that was around behind this mountain. Everybody was talking about it. That was my first visit to that island. I didn't know about it, but when I heard everybody talking about that place, I wanted to know what that place looked like. So I asked the hotel manager where I was staying at, and they said, that's what it looks like. And I said, oh, wow. That is unique. That is indeed a very special place. I'd like to go there. The hotel instructed me, all you need to do is just go down to the port, and there is a boat that takes you there daily. They do at least 20 trips back and forth throughout the day. Oh, I said, that would be nice. So here I am now. I want to visit this place, right? Remember, I am here and I want to go there. Now, I go down to the port and I get the boat. I got the tickets with my wife and my kids to go to that beautiful place. On the way, the captain comes over. He said, "Hi, folks, I haven't seen you before. Where are you from?" And we started talking. Now, what is that I really want to know from the captain? How fast the boat goes, which he was very proud to tell me that's one of the best boats that I have in the island. I can care less. How many, what's the capacity of the boat? Again, I can care less. I didn't want to know anything about that. I was concerned with this place. So I wanted to ask him about this place, not about the boat. I hope you realize the metaphor that I'm using here. Make your people's lives interesting and show them what they want, not what you think that they want, not what you know and you want them to know. I didn't care about the strength of the engine. I didn't care about how fast the boat goes. I wanted to make sure that takes me to this place. Well, as I promised you, the formal presentation is over. However, I have some food for thought for all of you. And if you want me to send it to you, just email me or ask me, call me, whatever. All of you have my information. A question that I want you to ask your people, or even yourselves. You're big executives in a business. Ask, if this were your business, what would you do differently? Stop and think about it for a moment. If this was your business, what would you do differently? Okay, think about it. Even you, top managers, big executives, big honchos who work for a business, it's a good food for thought element. Look at the next one. If you could change anything in your business, what would that be? I go down to my employees, or I shouldn't say down, I go and visit my employees many times, and I ask them, what would you like to change? Okay, and then when they tell me, I say, well, fine, how can we do it? Not how can you do it, how can we do it? Go on, give me a proposal, give me your thoughts, come to the office, let's discuss together, and let's see how we can do it. We is the key element here. Next, a vitally important statement. When was the last time you analyzed, reevaluated, and redesigned businesses in order to enhance quality? Oh, but I don't have to do that because I do well and I make money. Yeah, but if you don't analyze, reevaluate, and redesign your business in order to improve, you're violating what we talked about in the beginning, the continuous improvement. And others will bypass you, regardless of how good you are where you're standing. If you're just standing there, others will bypass you. So again, I think this is a very profound statement. What I do, folks, in many businesses, especially when I'm called as a consultant, I ask the employees to make one improvement per month. Now imagine a company that has 100 employees, and each of them comes up with one improvement per month, 12 improvements for the year. You have 1,200 improvements by the end of the year. Can you imagine how revolutionary that would be? No consultant, no excellent manager can do that. Nobody can bring 1,200 revolutionary changes, improvements in a year. But your employees can by asking them to do one improvement per month. It's doable. It is attainable. They can do it, and they feel well. However, as we discussed the last time, and some of you asked me for that document, after that is achieved, you need to reward people because we said we've said before, people who are rewarded and appreciated get things done. Okay, please remember that. People who are rewarded and appreciated get things done. I have a few more statements for you. Next time you're in a group of about 20 or 30 people, I want you to try this. This, again, another thing that I've developed over the years. Now, again, I imagine that many of you are or could be in groups. You have your own employees, you are consultants to a company, okay, but you need a group of about 20, 30, if not even more. If the more, the better. Okay, now, what I want you to ask is the two questions that I have next. First question, how many of you are afraid or dislike change? Please raise your hands. Nobody will raise their hand. Maybe one or two people out of the 20 or 30, if that many. Basically, what they're saying is, oh, I'm fine with change, okay? Now you ask the key question, which comes next. How many of you think that other people dislike change? Now everybody's hands go up. Basically, what they're saying is, oh, I'm okay with change, but it's him, it's her, it's them who don't like change. I'm okay with it. No, actually, it's them that don't like change, okay? When you see 25 out of 30 hands being raised in the second question, that tells me that all these people don't like change and they want to blame somebody else. It works, and then it resonates, and then it settles in, and then you sit them down, you say, guys, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it. Let's face reality. Okay, so again, how many of you are afraid or dislike change? No hands will go up, maybe one or two. How many of you think that other people dislike change? Everybody raised their hand. Okay, item 6, what business are you in? That's a question that I ask my clients. And the last time I had somebody who was making and selling furniture. And they said, yeah, we're in the furniture business. Before that, I had somebody who was designing and implementing websites and computers program. And they said, we're in the website design program business, or in the computers business. And another client who was selling cars, I said, what business are you in? In the business of selling cars. And to all of us, that sounds reasonable, sounds okay, because that's what we've been taught and that's what we know. However, folks, in my view, the business you are in is something very different. Please pull out your phones and tape this. You haven't seen it anywhere. You're not going to see it anywhere. I'll be delighted to send it to you. So here's my definition of what business you are in. You are in the business of satisfying your customers in the best way possible, hopefully better than the competition, in order to elevate the customer to a loyal client. I'll repeat. The business you're in is, is to satisfy your customers in the best way possible, hopefully better than the competition, via the cars, via the computers, via the furniture, via the products or services you sell, in order to elevate the customer to the level of a loyal client. That's the business you are in, folks. Not just selling furniture, not just selling cars. That's what you do, okay? But the business you are in is what I just shared with you. Couple more foods for thought. If you want to achieve operational excellence, don't blame the people, just like Edward Deming and others said, excuse me, enhance the process. Don't blame the people. But the people are the ones who are doing the work, yeah. But if they are in their own process, and if the process is not designed properly, people are not going to be very effective, my friends. So please enhance the process. Couple more. At work, do you have the opportunity to do what you're best at every day? Or you have the type of environment, the type of management that says, do as I say, don't think. Okay, just do what I tell you. I didn't bring you here to think, I brought you here to do things. Well, there goes creativity, my friends. If you happen to be in that environment, you are in their own environment. Okay, allow people to do what they do best. Actually, that is part of the mentality that I have in the Silicon Valley. Item 9 and 2 more, they're very similar. Are you a thermometer or a thermostat? I hope you understand the difference. A thermometer detects what goes on, what the heat is in a room. A thermostat is the one who sets the room. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer. And finally, are you a firefighter or a fire detector? Do you put out fires throughout the day, or you detect where the fires can be? Let me close here with this. A very close relative of mine, allow me not to mention specifics, went for an employment interview a couple of years ago. And the interview began with, as it usually does, tell me about yourself. And the person said, I'm the thermostat, not a thermometer. I'm a fire detector, not a firefighter. The interviewer says, what? Say that again. So that person repeated those statements. The interviewer was overwhelmed. He called his supervisor and said, come on down, I want you to see this person. When the supervisor came, he asked the candidate to repeat what he said previously. And the candidate did. Believe it or not, that was the entire interview. The supervisor said, hire this person. Case closed. Okay, so being the thermostat, you are proacting, you are foreseen. Being a fire detector, you visualize, you see what goes on, and this is who I want you all to be, both the students and my colleagues. And if you follow today's preachings, guess what's going to be flashing in front of you all the time? With that, I wish you all good luck. And let me go back because they told me there are a couple of questions here. Let me finish. Stop sharing to go back to any questions, anybody at this point? Anybody, unmute yourselves. They told me there's a question in the chat. Okay. Anybody, any questions? Stephen, I didn't talk to you in the beginning. I spoke to Oscar, but not to you or Katya if you're there.
Yep, I'm here, and everything was excellent. Excellent topic, and as Oscar shared before, these are topics that I learned way back in the late '80s, early '90s, and give back from John and in those days, and we've carried that on as a colleague and a friendship, our relationship, and we've taught together at university, and I tell you, it's something that even though these are topics that we've been talking about for decades, it's amazing to see how many organizations still can benefit from these types of focuses. And I think that day-to-day operations gets muddied, and we kind of get lost in the here and now, and we don't see that forest because of the trees, and being able to look at the organization holistically, I think is a key concept. Again, going back to your comments about systems and everything, I think that's such an important conversation, and understanding the difference between Lean and Six Sigma, and focusing on waste versus variability. I think these are all key lessons that organizations need to strive to.
Thank you, Stephen. For the record and for everybody else, by the way, as Stephen mentioned, he was my student back in the 80s. And first of all, we're still speaking, we're still talking to each other. But most importantly, Stephen has excelled so well in his life. He also became a professor, not only a big consultant and a big honcho in a company, but also a professor. And one of the times that he was asked to teach at DePaul, but he had prior commitments. He could not deliver. He called me and arranged that I taught for the poll, and I've been ever since for a number of years. And Stephen, again, thank you for that, dear former student and colleague, as I call you now. All right, guys, I see a couple more comments here. There are a question. Okay, harmony and balance we talked about last time. They said, okay, good. All right. Any other questions? It's 9 o'clock, or we have a full hour basically on this. I hope I didn't bore you to death. Thank you, Stephen. Anybody else? Any comments? If not, we're gonna call it off. Phil?
I just want to say congratulations. It was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I saw your comment on this thing. Thank you. That's from Greece, by the way. Okay. Larry? Larry must be Oscars. Phil, how are you doing there? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you fine. Yeah, very
Okay.
excellently done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for attending. Thank you for being there. All right, folks. I don't see any more questions here. With that, I wish you all a beautiful, prosperous, and healthy day, and have a good one.